All right. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Jonathan Trung, the head of community at Codecademy. I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's special event where we are unveiling our very first UX designer career path. Whether you're looking to break into the field, you're a product manager aiming to deepen your UX experience, or you're simply curious about how to design an intuitive, user-friendly app, this session is for you. One of our senior curriculum developers, Lucas, is here today to talk more about it. We also have Kat, who is our associate product manager, helping answer questions in the chat, as well as Luca. About questions, we'll have a dedicated Q&A portion at the end, but feel free to ask questions throughout, and I'll try my best to elevate them. About our guide today, as I mentioned, we have Lucas. A few fun facts about Lucas. He's a senior curriculum developer at Codecademy. He's worked on a handful of web content, including JavaScript, Golang, and the UX design career path. Lives in New Jersey and has two cats, and has worked at Codecademy for about 4 years. With Kat, she's been at Codecademy for a year and a half, is currently on the mobile team and has worked on projects like post quiz review, AI project review, and now working on the mobile app. Luca, feel free to post some fun facts about yourself in the chat as well. And yeah, thank you so much for the Codecademy, my team, my colleagues, for being a part of this event. But enough about me talking. I'm just like talking up a storm here in the intro. I'll pass it off to Lucas, and Lucas, if you want to take it away, please do.
Yeah, so hi again. Just a quick reintroduction. My name is Lucas. I'm a senior curriculum developer here at Codecademy, and we'll be talking today about the UX designer career path. The UX designer career path has a number of different tracks. The intention is to be able to take you from being an individual who knows very little about UX design all the way to being prepared to get your first career in UX in a more junior capacity. So this is a great set of courses to take, if you're that ideal person that's looking to get into UX, but it's also super helpful for anyone in tech that is looking to expand their design literacy. If you're a product manager looking to collaborate better with your designers, or if you are a engineer that's looking to, again, collaborate more with your designers, or in a more individual capacity, know how you can better design and user flows as you're programming out any front end sites that you're working on. So there's a lot that different audiences could take out of this career path. I'm going to share my screen, and I'll first give kind of an overview of what's contained in that career path, and then give you kind of a highlight reel of some of the best moments in the career path. Jonathan is around to keep an eye on the chat. If there is any questions as I'm going through, please feel free to use the chat, and Jonathan can interrupt me and ask that question in place. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end after we've gone through the career path, where I can answer some questions, as well as Kat and Luca, as working product designers, should be able to provide some more kind of industry questions that you might have about how you land that first job in UX design, or how you collaborate with engineers, all that good stuff. We have a great kind of panel here to address those types of questions. So without further ado, I'll jump into a screen share, and we can go over the career path. So first things first, this is just a welcome page for the career path. It will explain a little bit about what you'll learn, and particularly the learning objectives, I think, is a good thing to go through. So after completing this path, you'll be able to use design methodologies and best practices, conduct user research to generate design ideas, implement design thinking strategies for ideation, coming up with ideas, create designs that consider interaction design principles, which is core to UX design flows. master visual design to create visually engaging and usable designs. That covers things like, composition, but also colors and typography and how they're used to create engaging flows, but also accessible sites. Uh, Next up, conduct user research to evaluate designs or existing technology. Implement design thinking strategies for iterating on existing designs. Design is an iterative practice. There's no such thing as a perfect design. We're always just striving to make our designs better and better and improve the experience for our users. And lastly, grow in your UX career with advanced techniques in the tools that you'll use as a UX designer, and also continuous learning, how you continue to grow as a designer. Um, so a quick overview of the different projects that you'll complete throughout this career path. Our first project is a wireframing activity where you will create a wireframe for a fictional outdoor shopping website called Ridgeline. You'll then take that wireframe and put that into Figma, adding some light interactive prototype functionality. Um, you will then move into our design ideation and research, generative research content, including a user interview, making a research report, and then taking those findings and creating a sketch idea based off your findings. Um, You'll then move into some redesign work, redesigning an existing flow, which is a common practice. You're not starting from ground zero as a designer, you're improving upon an existing design. So redesigns we work on. Information architecture is another, as you're planning out a site and a workflow. We have a project on creating solid information architecture and user flows with this project. Moving into some of the visual design projects, we have a visual design fundamentals, a color, and a typography project that are kind of part of a set of three, where you're building out the kind of frame of a site, then introducing color, then introducing typography to come away with a really visually impactful site. We'll then work on a project around building out a testing plan, using listening research methods to conduct an evaluative survey on an existing platform. We have another kind of revamp, revised flow project where you take an existing flow that needs improvement. We have feedback on how it can be improved, and you make those improvements in Figma. And then the last few projects, the first is an advanced Figma project, making use of some advanced features like Figma's auto layout, components, variants, and variables and constraints to build a really nice reactive Figma prototype. And then we have a few projects on collaboration amongst the team. Working as a solo designer is very different from working in a team context. And so when you're collaborating with product managers and engineers and any other stakeholders, taking in that input and having effective collaboration is really important. So we have a project on that. And then the last project, kind of capstone project of the career path, is creating a wireframe for your portfolio, including case studies. Case studies is really important for kind of landing that first job, having demonstrated work in UX design. So building out that wireframe is a really nice kind of capstone project to wrap things up. So that's a quick overview of the career path from a high level. I'll now dive into some of these content items in particular and give kind of a highlight reel of the different types of interactions that you'll see throughout the career path. And let me pull that up. So starting off in the intro course, we cover the key methodologies of UI and UX design. in a number of different strategies. This one in particular is the product development lifecycle. We start off with the kind of fundamentals and the theory of UX design, digging into what your practices should be as you go through the design process, what you should consider, and these kind of help structure your design practices. This is a Codecademy lesson, and we have a lot of diagrams and explanations of that kind of theory of UX design before jumping right into putting those into practice with a wireframing and prototyping content and project. So this is the prototyping project that I mentioned earlier. We have here a video that's a project walkthrough video that'll walk you through the project if you are kind of struggling or need some pointers in Figma. But you'll be provided with a template in Figma that'll automatically duplicate onto your Figma account. And you will go through the process of creating that first prototype of an outdoor apparel company's website. And so here's an example of a finished project for that first Ridgeline project. This is just a simple prototype that'll allow you to select kind of a color of the parka that you want and a size, and then add it to the cart, which adds a little notification bubble to the cart button. Again, this is meant to be our first prototype, so it's not super robust in terms of features, but it's giving that first experience of making the Figma prototype. Then moving into user research generative. Generative user research is a huge part, or user research in general is a huge part of designing. When you want to design, it's important that you are making sure that your designs are user-centered. And so conducting research, both evaluative, qualitative, quantitative, all sorts of different forms of research is really key to the UX design experience. So we have some interactive experiences here in this this content. So kind of simulating a focus group, asking questions and getting responses, to then build those responses into a larger kind of research report. I think we also make use of some kind of quiz questions that'll test and make sure that you understand like different qualitative and quantitative experiences. So you can put those in. I'm just putting things in freely, so I might be wrong here on that one. Yeah. And then we also have some Miro applications that you can look at inside of our learning environment and explore some different Miro files. This one in particular is a example research plan that you can explore to understand better some of the deliverables for a designer. Next up, we have an article about conducting user interviews. We get into the different types of interviews, how you should conduct those interviews. We have some embedded assignments here to make sure that you understand kind of knowledge checks, that you understand the material. And then really cool, at the end of this article, we have a kind of simulation of a user interview where you will go through different prompts, you'll give answers, and ask follow-up questions to your interview participant. You'll keep track of their answers. You'll read what they respond to the questions that you answer, and then you'll get a kind of summarized interview that you can then download and use as a research deliverable. So that was a really cool experience, as well as writing a research report. So once you conduct this research, you got to put it into a report to then share with your team. So we provide a research template. We provide kind of the key points that you want to hit in a research report. And then we have an example here of a research report based on the kind of narrative that we've been following of a travel site. Um, so this is another cool part of the learning experience. Um, okay, and then moving into design thinking ideation, we have a another Miro embed experience where you can select a Miro board from your boards and embed it directly into our learning environment to follow along with the tasks. So this is a some different ideation practices. You know, based off some research, identify what the problem is, who is affected by the problem, where the problem occurs, when it occurs, and why does it occur, how we can improve upon it. So these are some different kind of brainstorming ideation practices that we've embedded into Miro inside our learning environment, so you can follow along with that process. Um, Next up, we have all of this content, these different tracks. Again, these are not all the content items within the tracks, but this is kind of a highlight reel of the different content items that you'll be encountering throughout this career path. And every single one of these tracks will have a quiz with different questions to check your knowledge against. Um, these are some fill in the blanks. I think we should also have uh, some multiple choice questions. I'm not doing very well, but I'm not paying attention to the answer. All of our tracks will have quizzes that you can also test your knowledge against. Let me take some water. Before moving into our interaction design uh, track. Interaction design is another key aspect of UX design, considering the flow, the user flow, and what the interactions users will take part in to get them from different places of the flow and interact with your site. So this is um, a project in which you conduct a heuristic evaluation on a certain user flow that we have carefully constructed to be reasonable but not very effective of a UX design to enable you to identify issues within that user flow and to then revise the user flow, taking into account the feedback that you have about the project. So you conduct a heuristic evaluation. Uh, the 10 design usability heuristics are listed here for your reference. Things like consistency and standards, error prevention. You want to make sure that your user avoids errors, and if there are errors, that those are effectively communicated. You know, a common example of this is passwords. When you're putting in a password, you want good feedback that tells exactly what, you know, if a user is not providing enough characters or they're not using the proper special characters that you need, that you're kind of effectively conveying that. That's an example of something that breaks a usability heuristic. And so you're kind of hunting those down and then fixing them in this project. Again, that's another Figma template that you can, it'll be put onto your Figma account and you can have that as a deliverable to take away and a project so that you can demonstrate as having worked on in your portfolio. We have some more Miro experiences here. This one about information architecture, practicing building out a information architecture structure based off a kind of card sorting exercise where you do associations and then build out an infrastructure based off those associations. We also, for the last part of interaction design, we examine design patterns and flows. So how different sites in this example handle flight booking or hotel booking or car searches. Those type of like big forms that you need to fill out to make clear your destination, how long you're going to be there, what your budget might be, your age, all those different kind of fields that you might need to put in. So examining those different features, looking into how we conduct different, um, or we demonstrate to our users, different things like how far in a in a form fill out that they might be doing, or if something's loading, having those kind of indicators, or how we demonstrate a date picker. These types of interactions and flows are a key part of this interaction design content. Next up is our visual design content that covers, as I mentioned before, three core aspects. The first is visual design principles, things like composition, contrast, balance. We have here a slideshow demonstrating different aspects of visual design principles. We have another demonstrating what's called Gestalt principles, things like figure ground, similarity, kind of psychological associations that people have when they're um, uh, going through some form of digital product. So the associations that they might have, how they know, for example, that this is the area that they want to interact with, those types of, again, psychological aspects of design are covered here, as well as we have content surrounding color basics. We have a little interactive app where you can play with RGB and HSL values to understand the relation between these different forms of creating colors digitally. So RGB is a format, as is hex. If you type in a hex code, that should then update. We also get into different forms of, it's loading, different forms of color hierarchy. I need to refresh this page. There we go. Color harmony. Sorry, that's the word I meant to use.
Lucas, real quick, I just wanted to, so we're covering a lot of material here. I just want to take a moment and just ask if anyone has any questions.
Sure,
Just so we
yes.
can address them.
If at any point you have a question, please feel free to use the chat, and Jonathan can interrupt me
Yeah.
at any moment with any questions that you might have. Again, this is not intended to be a learning experience. I know I'm going through a lot of content here. I'm just kind of providing the highlights of the UX design career path. A lot of the career path is free in the form of courses, so you can try out some of these courses and see if they're a good fit for you, and you want to, experience the career path more fully and dive deep into each of um,
For sure. It looks like
pieces of
there are
content.
no questions, so please continue on. Sorry.
Sure, yeah. No worries. So this dives into the different forms of color harmony, um, things like primary color, secondary, and the color relationships. You could have a monochromatic color scheme, a complementary color scheme, which I think like dominoes is a form of. Analogous is our Dunkin' Donuts example. We could see how different companies use those different forms of um, color relationships in their branding. Uh, Semantic color, so what colors mean to different cultures or different individuals. Um, Color and accessibility, how color and accessibility are intimately tied, color contrast, things like that. This is an example where an experience that uses red and green to indicate something being good or not good. For certain colorblind individuals, those colors could look very similar. So keeping in mind as you're designing, not solely relying on color and making sure that you test against color contrast can be a super helpful part of design and making your designs accessible. And then this is all culminated together into a design project where you're focused first on composition, then on color, then on typography, to come out with this is a project where you're designing a website for a band or any kind of artist. Um, this was an exciting project because it allows you to be pretty creative, but still pay close attention to your user flow and making sure that you're effectively communicating the content that you want to communicate. And then we just have three more um, tracks. The first is evaluative user research. So where we previously used research to come up with ideas on what we're going to design, the this content is around using user research to test and evaluate an existing product that you might have. This is a lot of the work as a working UX designer is to evaluate how your site is performing, your designs are performing, and to make any improvements that come out of that form of research. So one example of this is conducting a heuristic evaluation, which we mentioned previously. This is an experience where you can note how you would rate um, how important or pressing of an issue a certain heuristic violation might be. Um, we also have another piece of content around listening research methods that are more about studying, results of surveys or feedback comments that you receive on the internet or what have you, and making decisions on how to address that type of feedback. So we have some interactive experiences here. Um, I think we also have some on analyzing our user surveys and uh, formatting results into a research report, which is another key part of kind of convincing stakeholders that this is a worthwhile investment to redesign. And then once you establish that something is worth prioritizing as a design, you'll prioritize the different things that you will address through iteration. So this also covers a lot of how you would make design decisions to to go ahead and iterate on your design. And this again culminates with a project in Figma, starting with a template and coming up with a redesign based off inspiration and other forms of how do other, like products handle this certain interaction. And so you'll design a new prototype, revising that old prototype. And then our last track is UX career preparedness. And there are three key parts of this track as well. Um, the first is advanced Figma. So this covers things like constraints, auto layout, other more advanced Figma features that you should know as a junior UX designer, but aren't kind of the core material that you learn as a beginner. So we dive deep into these features and use them for, first off, a project that would be a responsive prototype in different formats, first as a desktop, then as an iPad, and designing your prototype so that it's scrollable and well formatted and a clean, coherent design. Um, we'll then get into what it's like to work as a designer and how designers often fit into different organizations. This is a diagram of some different ways that organizations handle design teams. One has like a centralized design team that where there's a team of designers and they work kind of collaboratively with product teams. Some have a decentralized team where designers are embedded directly into product teams. And then there are also hybrid teams where it's kind of a mix and designers will report both to a product manager and a design manager. So these are different ways that designers fit into organizations. We also have content around giving and receiving feedback, collaborating with product managers and engineers, and how you have really effective collaboration as a designer. This is a little experience where you can practice providing that type of feedback on designs, also working cross-functionally and alongside other designers. And then the last is content around building out your resume and making yourself marketable as a junior designer. So we have here an AI experience where we provide some prompts and enable you to start thinking about how you would format your resume, what projects you would demonstrate for different types of roles. Tailoring your resume is a huge thing as of late, as is tailoring, I think, the projects that you demonstrate in your portfolio to make sure that they're focused on what types of roles you're trying to achieve. So if you're looking for a role at a healthcare company, for example, you might uh, work on or demonstrate some other project that you worked on in healthcare related to healthcare, for example. And you can use our AI prompting to start to think through those decisions. And then lastly, the last project is around designing your portfolio and the case studies that are within it, which is a key part of getting that first job. So making sure that your portfolio is really clean and communicates really well what you're going for, then you should be better positioned to get a role in design. So this is an example solution, not using any images, but just kind of wireframing out and writing out the content that you want to include in those case studies, also designing the kind of home and about pages, how you're going to feature projects on that homepage, answering these types of questions through Figma designs, also considering, if you want to have a mobile friendly experience, how that would look for learners, making your designs responsive through auto layout, kind of putting everything you've learned into this capstone project at the end of the career path. So that is kind of a highlight reel of the career path. Again, I didn't dive into every single thing. That is every content item. There's a bunch of content to really dive deep into all of these different concepts. This is just an overview and highlight reel of the different types of activities that you'll do in the career path. Um, and I think I will leave it off there and we can move into our Q&A portion. I'm happy to answer any questions about the career path, about the content. I have been working on this content now cumulatively off and on for about 3 years. So I have quite a bit of familiarity with the content and with the content area, but I am not a practicing a product designer, which is why we are very gratefully joined by Luca and Kat, who can serve as kind of industry experts and answer any questions that you might have about the industry. So I think I'll hand things off to Jonathan to conduct that Q&A.
Yes. So first off, thank you so much, Lucas, for providing the comprehensive overview of what the UX designer career path looks like. Again, this is the Q&A portion. Lots of information was presented here. It could be your questions could pertain to the actual career path or about UX in general. Feel free to leave them in the chat, or if you're brave enough, feel free to unmute and show your face on camera. But would love to hear from all the folks who are attending today, and we'll leave some space for that. Otherwise, we'll disband and give people time back. So,
If if we want to get the ball rolling, I kind of have an interesting question that I'd be curious what they think.
yeah.
While people think of questions for our designers, I was wondering what you felt helped you stand out and get your foot in the door as you were applying.
I can go first. I think an important facet of being a designer is being multidisciplined. There's a lot of skill sets that can help you as a designer, like being able to animate, being able to code. My portfolio website is entirely coded, and I left comments in the HTML so that if you inspect Element, you can see my comments. They're cute comments, like they're ASCII art of a cat. And I actually got comments on that from Codecademy when I interviewed, but also from a couple other companies. So I think being able to code is a super great way to be able to stand out, because if you're able to code, you can help streamline the process of handoff from design to engineering, and that can be really beneficial to a company and help you stand out, especially as a junior level candidate.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense.
plus one to what Kat said. I think just kind of figuring out what your strengths are, and it will be different for everyone. You know, I think UX design is an area where a lot of folks are pivoting into, so you will be bringing a ton of transferable skills. So just kind of take a look at your experience, your education, and find that one thing that makes you stand out. For me, for example, I came from a consulting background, so I focused more on kind of the product strategy and the business goals that come with product design. I think for everyone it'll be different, but just figuring out what that one thing makes you stand out from everybody else and really focusing on that in your portfolio and during your interviews would be helpful.
Couple other examples could be accessibility. Like if you're somebody that cares deeply about making websites accessible and you know all of the standards for accessibility on the web, that could be really great. If you're focused on mobile, you have a bunch of mobile experience, or if you have experience creating games, like all of those can be great assets to highlight that really help you stand out amongst other people.
We we have a lot of people who are thinking about, hey, UX sounds really cool, but I'm not exactly sure if this is for me. Like, how can I get a sense or test it out, right? What would you say uh would be a great way to dip their toes in the water? Yes, I know that they can take the career path, but are there any other quizzes or tests or whatever it may be where our learners can learn a little bit more about the career?
Yeah, I will say that the intro course, even aside from the career path, the intro course should give you a really solid taster about
Mm,
if this is for you. It doesn't just cover like the methodologies. It also covers what the career landscape is like, what uh, for example, if you're like really into the research aspect, but not so into the design, like user researcher is uh, it is a role that you could have in the industry. And so even
mhm.
amongst product design roles, there are many different avenues that you could pursue. But I think that, uh, if you want to learn more about design, I think you should just try out designing and dip your toe in the water and see if it's for you.
Absolutely. Let's see, checking the chat. It seems like there
You know,
aren't any questions.
okay.
Oh, we do have a quick question. We have a question from C Quick. I'm gonna read it verbatim here. How can junior designers talk about collaboration in interviews if they don't have any real life projects? Would it be best to highlight how they would collaborate with engineers and developers outside of practice projects?
Yeah, I can take this one. I think you're absolutely nailing it. I think even when I was interviewing for a junior role, and the companies and the hiring manager wants to know what you're thinking. So even though you don't have that experience on the paper, collaborating with engineers, developers, there's so many things that you could describe. Like I would do this if I had the opportunity to do that. So they really care about how you think. You can also talk about, if it was a class project, or if you when you're working on a Codecademy project, and then you talked with other folks who are in the same room and just like getting advice, you could talk about how you work collaboratively with other designers or other project managers. I think kind of to recap, there's different ways that you could collaborate. You can collaborate with engineers, developers. You could collaborate with marketing folks, researchers. So it doesn't have to be just engineer developers. And as junior designers, if you don't have that experience, think about what in an ideal situation you would do. And I would really lay out kind of a plan for that and go into more detail as you're explaining during your interviews.
Yeah, totally plus one to what Lucas said. I totally agree with what she's saying. I think in addition to that, talking about experience, especially as a junior designer, can be really tough to be in situations where you're able to stretch your design skills. Um, class projects definitely do count as forms of experience, even if you aren't necessarily collaborating with individuals. But if you are looking for experiences where you can collaborate with individuals, there's a lot of websites for hackathons, for game jams, and those can help get you that real world experience with developers because oftentimes those are all people looking to create projects in a short span, and it does give you a taste of that real life. Okay, this is what a developer needs, this is what our project manager needs, and that can help you to answer those questions more accurately.
I also just realized too that we don't have a UX designer club. And so that's something that we could definitely create in order to provide a lot more collaboration. We can meet other people who are interested on Codecademy to do that. Of course. Thank you so much, C Quick. Any other questions out there?
I'm curious what Luca and Kat find to be the most challenging parts of their job.
Mm.
Ooh.
I think the
I
most challenging part is alignment, like trying to get alignment with everybody on the team and with leadership about what our solution is. I feel like most of the design process has been within that problem-solving space. What is the problem? How do we solve it? What does that solution look like?
Yeah, I'd say for me, it'd probably be kind of figuring out like there's so many exciting things that we could be working on, and every cycle we come up with so many new ideas, and kind of like Kat said, figuring out how we want to prioritize, which direction we want to go, because there's so many things and so many ideas that we have. But it's all very exciting, so it's a good problem to have.
I don't know if this is also like one of the going along Lucas's question, but like what the most challenging thing, but what's also the most fun thing about your jobs?
Or rewarding. Yeah.
Rewarding, yeah.
I'd probably say just seeing your product launch and it being live. I always get really excited when you can actually see, the fruits of your labor being available to everyone. But also, we just have a great design team. We have a great design culture. All the designers are constantly talking to each other. We share like the new things that we saw, and the new apps and the new websites. So I think it being around people who are so passionate about design has been my highlight so far.
Yeah, I love everybody that we work with. I think it's so much fun to be surrounded with other designers to be able to get feedback. For me, I think the rewarding part of being a designer is, yes, being able to see your design out there for the world and see how people are interacting with it via like a dashboard, like a use dashboard. I also think a fun aspect of the job is how it expands and how what other skills can contribute to design. Like I know I brought up coding before, but for a hackathon that we're doing at Codecademy right now, I've never done TypeScript before, but it's a lot of fun to learn how to manipulate TypeScript and how we use TypeScript and the ways that coding languages connect. And TypeScript isn't usually something that I would get to do on a day-to-day, but I'm hoping eventually I will be able to bring that to projects in the future. And so it's a lot of fun to expand your skill set in that way.
Another question that I have is there any advice that you would give your younger self when you first started your career?
That's a great question. Um, I'd probably say, like, especially early on in your career, focus a lot on like you have the theory and you have the structure that you're following, but also like, and I think that's what's so great about the Codecademy career path is that there's so many projects that you can try out. So just really make sure that you're not just learning the theoreticals and like this is uh, what's in this is like what's in the books, and there's so many other UX books that you can read, but learn how to apply what you learn to the actual project, and it's like the first time you'll go into Figma, you probably most likely won't be very pretty, but that's okay. Like you just have to keep trying and you keep improving. So just trusting that as you continue practicing, you'll continue polishing your design skills.
Mm.
That's a really great piece of advice. This was a tough question for me because there were so many things that I wish that I had answers to when I first was starting out. When I first started, I was very anxious about getting a job. I was so worried. Like I saw everybody in classes around me, and like I knew all of these people were also looking for jobs in UI UX, and I felt anxious about would I be able to get one because there's just so many people. Um, I think for me, the specialization that we were talking about before is part of it, where you should specialize and show off the skills that you are great at. But I think another part that didn't fully click into place for me until I started to apply that I wish that I had known earlier is how important storytelling is because you can create beautiful projects and that they're incredible and they're great UX wise, but if they're not packageable and they're not not exactly bite sized, but they're not chewable by somebody who's viewing your portfolio, then I wasn't going to get the reward that I wanted. I wasn't going to be in an interview and I wasn't going to get a job if I wasn't able to fully explain my ideas. To go more into depth, what I mean by storytelling is like those big titles that you put above sections in your portfolio where you're explaining your ideas. They should be short, but they shouldn't be like overview. They should be like a sentence like how I was able to X, so that when somebody's just scrolling through your portfolio, it takes them a couple seconds to read the title, but they've read the title because most people aren't going to stop to read the description. So I really think an important part that I didn't realize until later down the line was how important it is to storytell in a short frame and how important getting that portfolio right is and how exactly to get it right. I still wouldn't even say that I have my portfolio entirely right. Like I think it's digestible, but I think it's important as a tool to get yourself out there. And it wasn't something I was focusing on as much as I should have early in my career.
I love the word storytell because you could easily say something like communicate, but when you're saying storytell, it's really about like how you're marketing the things that like you have built in a very eloquent way. So love it. Thank you so much for sharing. See, quick with another question. How do you all handle imposter syndrome? Is that something that eventually goes away once you get a job and are working on a team? Side note, see quick, thank you for the question. Uh, the imposter syndrome question is literally like the number one question in any type of event that we've ever hosted. So I appreciate you bringing it up. So, who would love to answer this one?
I will start things off. I feel like you have moments of confidence and moments of being humbled, I guess is the way I've always looked at it. And uh, something that I was going to say about the previous question, but I think also fits in here is like continuous learning is such an important skill to cultivate. Um, uh, Early on in your career, but consistently throughout your career, you always need to be learning. The industry is always changing, and so being able to stay on top of trends and ride the wave, I think is super important. And I think that like that ties into imposter syndrome and addresses that a lot. If you feel like, oh, I don't deserve to be here or all that, I think it can be motivation to say, all right, like then let's do something about it. Let me improve and make sure that I, you know, can absolutely say that I deserve to be here because no one does, no one is designing AI products better than I am at this company or whatever. I think that can help a lot.
In terms of imposter syndrome while at work, not feeling like you're enough, I think that something that really helped me is, and when work is hectic, you don't always get time to do this, but listing out the things that you want to accomplish, so and making them measurable. So, for example, I want to send Jonathan designs for him to comment on by end of day. Like having those measurable tasks and being able to say, I finished everything that I said that I was going to, can help you feel less like you're not doing enough because you're able to say, this is what I've done.
Agree with Kat. And you can also similarly list out, the little wins that you have had so far. I think that is a good reminder to, give yourself a pat on the back for doing a great job. And also, I think for me, the imposter syndrome, like it, it, it's here for me to stay. It doesn't really go away, but I think when you look at it, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I love when I'm in a room with people who are much smarter than me because it motivates me to keep learning to do better. So maybe try to spin it in a positive way where it's hopefully motivates you to do better instead of looking at it as, something very negative.
Love all those responses. Some of the best advice that I ever got was every professional should have like a highlight reel, right? Whether it's like a slide deck or just even like a spreadsheet listing all your accomplishments like over time that's going to build up. And then you can look back and you're like, you know what, I'm a badass. I have no imposter syndrome, go away. So looking at your accomplishments from a high level over time is one way to combat that. Najah, please excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, asks, how are UX/UI roles changing with the integration of AI tools? I'm very interested in research and design, but there are less entry jobs in that area. How do I get there as a new grad with zero professional experience? I started teaching myself using this online course, and I'm building or beginning to build my portfolio site. But if you have any other tips, that would be great.
I can start. I can't speak to it as much in the UX aspect because I have not seen as many or even used as many tools out there for AI UX research. I know they exist, but I haven't really used them before. In terms of the UI and how AI is changing UI, even Figma now has an integrated UI, like rename layers, all of these things. But I think the major way that AI has been changing UI is that being able to code with Cursor AI, ChatGPT 5 code, as some may say, and send it a picture of your designs and have something that you can say, this is the structure for the code for this component that I've created in Figma, and here's some starter code for connecting with engineers, and that can help to make the process go by faster. We have another coworker, another designer, Matt, who actually uses AI to help him show off the aspects of prototypes that Figma can't really do. So, for example, like scroll jacking, he created a prototype with, I think it was Bolt, that let him show off to engineers what he was envisioning for different pages. And I think that the way that that impacts UI is it's really a tool to help us show developers and to help us create and to help make it clearer what our ideas are and what our thought process are and help us to work faster. In terms of like AI designing for designers, I wouldn't say that's necessarily happening yet. That doesn't mean that it won't happen one day, but I think being ready for AI, like to work alongside AI, can help give you a leg up as you are discussing with potential employers, like like how you would, not necessarily how you work, but like ways that you can streamline processes.
Lucas, anything else to add to this?
No, I think just plus one what Kat said, and yeah, um, AI will be here to stay. So, and it's changing so fast that sometimes I find it very hard to kind of keep up with the, momentum. But treat it as a tool that'll help you, be more efficient. So, an example of that, if you're coming up with an idea, or if you're putting some wireframes together and you need a placeholder text, you can quickly plug into ChatGPT and give you something. Obviously, we have UX Writer, we have the marketing to help us. The text that you generate from ChatGPT is merely a placeholder, but it kind of helps you visualize, your wireframe much faster and better. So I would say just look into what research tools there are and how they can help you get to where you need to be faster. And when you're designing your portfolio, when Lucas was showing us during his demo, we have this great tool where you can ask ChatGPT, what are the 10 the skills that I can highlight? And I think that's just such a great way for you to visualize and adapt your portfolio and your resume to whatever job you're applying. So I guess that would be my advice.
Thank you so much. Any other questions at all? Of course, of course. Thanks for asking, Aja. Any other questions? This will be the last one before we have to disband here. We have 3 minutes left. Do you think it is possible to obtain a UI UX research position without holding a relevant degree? I'm a business graduate and I want to have a career transition into UI UX design, but I am uncertain about the importance of having a related degree qualification.
I don't know how the industry has changed, but at least when I started researching for this career path, there weren't even that many like UX design degrees. And the vast majority of practicing designers held either completely unrelated degrees or only tangentially related degrees. My brother is a product designer and he holds a graphic design degree, which is pretty common. But I would say that I wouldn't treat it as a liability or whatever. I would treat it as an asset. Being able to position your business degree as a product designer and being able to have that perspective as you're designing and making sure that your design is not just user-centered, but also positive for the business, I think is would be how I would position myself in if that was my experience.
Yeah, super great idea about positioning in terms of business. Design really is all about positioning the user goals with the business goals. I think in terms of like if you need a degree or not, I think what's really important is portfolio. And that is something that I think like I can't answer you for sure on do I need a degree to get a job, because I do know people that have gotten product design jobs without degrees, but I don't know how easy that is. But I think having a portfolio that shows off your work and your abilities, that really helps to get your foot in the door.
All right. Yeah, of course, Wei Ling. Thank you so much for asking the question. Well, that concludes our event. If you could just leave some love in the chat for all the Codecademy folks up here with our UX and product designers and curriculum instructors, that would be great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for taking the time, y'all, for coming to the event, and we will do this again soon. One of the questions I always get is, where can I find the recording of the event? Well, we are planning to clean this event the recording up a little bit and upload it onto YouTube. So we will send it out once it is ready. So thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Thanks, Cal.